Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, Scott, and Martin, as they kick off this week's discussion.
Hello, welcome. If you're in the UK, this is a baking fortnight we've had, but you don't want to be outside in that heat. You want to be inside, watching us, watching the Nerd Herd. Same place, same time, every week, every Wednesday, 9:30 p.m, here live on the YouTube. Thanks everyone for joining us this week. It is the first episode of our, we've coined this Sequels Month, Sequels Weave.
Sequels Month.
Which we are always very excited about. This week we have read, and we will be discussing Deadly Class Volume 3. Snake Bit. It's issues 12 to 16, written by Remender, art by Wes Craig, colorist by Lee Lockridge and Jordan Boyd. They shared the coloring, and letters by Ross Wooten. It's from 2015, Image Comics. We've read the first two, obviously, in previous years, and I think one of the reasons why we like to do this Sequels Month, or at least schedule sequels in our reading, is that you don't always get the full flavour of a book, of a series, by one volume. Like, we've seen that with Invincible earlier on this season. Like, it's a big book, but we weren't overly enamoured by it. So it's only fair, if you're going to judge a series, you read a few of their volumes to get a real taste of what to expect. So yeah, that's why we do Sequels Month, and this is the start of it. Looking forward to it. This, just so he's in the chat, we have StreamYard. I know Peter does this gag every week. We never do it, but StreamYard's in the house tonight. Say hello.
And, you know what? I didn't even know you could click on that.
I always forget about it, but then I see Pete at every show, so I thought I might do it. And Liam, heidi ho, the Funky Gibbons is here. Thanks very much for joining us. We have M3. Is it M3 Lions Information Booth? Yeah. Hey all, just popped in to smash the like button. Be good, everyone. Now I sleep. Are we putting you to sleep, or is this like it's your time to sleep? But thanks very much for popping in, saying hello, and dropping a like. So yeah, Deadly Class. I'll give a recap, shall I, on the first two volumes, really. So you have Marcus, who escaped a boys' home after his parents were killed. He became an orphan. I had a hard time through this home, escaped it by essentially blowing it up and maiming one of his bullies and people who wanted to hurt him, pretty much. He gets kind of summoned, or gets kind of brought into this school where they train the world's deadliest assassins. And people from all over the world. There's ones from the UK, you got Russia, you've got South America, everywhere, all over, Japan. All these different types of assassins. He gets brought into this school, and there's a girl there called Maria, who he and her get together. Her boyfriend at the time, Chico, doesn't like it, tries to kill him. They kill Chico, and then the second series is this guy who, from Marcus's past, holds Chico's body and head as like a ransom, because his dad's like the cartel leader. So we're going to like hold this and somehow get you in trouble with the cartel. That's season 2, and season 3 takes off from there. And when I say takes off, it goes from 0 to 100, I think, in this volume. And you have the cartel seeking revenge on Maria and Marcus, and then you have Marcus dealing with all that, turning to drugs. Zach, he's losing himself. He's losing as well. He's pushing against his friends. He's no one to trust. And we find out towards the end of this, while he's starting to maybe think, I need to get my act together. I need to resolve the issue within this school, because there's clearly something afoot here. It turns out that maybe Master Lin and the school isn't what he thought it was going to be. That's a recap as well as a brief synopsis of this book. But yeah, like I say, I thought this book went to 0 to 100 fairly quickly. This really kicked off. I love the start of it. Shane, as you're the only one that has made notes.
Whoa. Whoa.
Not
I've
mental.
written like 3 lines, okay?
Okay. Shane, as you're the only one who's written 4+ lines, we're going to go to you first, seeing as you are more prepared than any of us. What's your initial thoughts on this?
It's hard because the start of this was just the end of the last book. I feel like that should have been it should have been included in the previous volume, like right up to what Master Lin does to Maria should have been in the previous volume, and then it should have started anew because it does just start in the middle of a scene. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that part, and then after what Master Lin does to Maria, there's a long part of this that I did not enjoy. I think probably the next 3 issues I was a little bit bored and uncomfortable, and I was taken out of it with the 15-year-olds having sex and doing drugs. I mean, the drugs part, they did that in the first volume. That was great. Like the art style was fantastic when it changed when they did the drugs. Awesome. They did it in the second one, and you're like, okay, this is still cool, I guess. And then they do it in this one, and you're like, okay, it's bullet time in the third Matrix. It's not as impressive. You know, you saw it in the first one, and the more you see it, the less interested you are in it. But the final issue, I really enjoyed the final issue because that final issue really got me excited for the next volume with that final page. And as you figure out, as Marcus figures it out, you figure it out, and you're like, oh my God, it's going to be an all-out brawl in the next one. And I really want to read the next volume.
Nice. And that's the thing. I mean, with any story, yes, you want to be entertained for that volume, but they know it's long form storytelling. They need to keep you intrigued, and it sounds like they've done that, but maybe bored just somewhat on the way to that. Scott, thoughts?
Not far off Shane, to be honest. It didn't really dawn on me until he just said that the first 2 issues in here are just the last, is the end of the actual end of the last volume. But that's exactly what it is. But those were the only issues that I found enjoyable and exciting and good to read. And then once we do all that, the action in those 2 issues, 12 and 13, are absolutely superb. I loved it, and I had some proper anime vibes with some of the fights that they have, and I loved it. The action's really good. The facial expressions are brilliant. The kind of body language and body positioning is brilliant as well. But then after that, it's just a bit of a moan from Marcus, isn't it? He's just having a bit of a girl I like don't like me anymore, and I'm not friends with this guy anymore, and I'll go take drugs, and I'll just go do some things that I shouldn't be doing. So yeah, I felt uncomfortable for the same reason as Shane. I didn't think it was necessary to have material like that in this book, but that really put me down on it, and I wasn't as into the last issue as Shane was. It was definitely intriguing, definitely upped it from the regular moaning that we had for the rest of the book. But it was nice for a bit of a change of pace at the end. And yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what happens. But this is probably my least favorite book out of the 3 so far.
Wow, I can get it. Martin,
yeah,
save the day here. Come on.
I've got a bit more positive vibes, but that's mainly because this is my first ever experience with Deadly Class. As we've discussed previously, I've not read volume 1 and 2, so I've read that this week. So I've read it as a whole complete story. I have to admit, I enjoyed volume 1 and 2 more. I loved the opening scene of this volume because it just made me fall in love with a very particular character, which I will discuss further on. But yeah, it did turn into a frat party sort of moody, depressive arc going through that middle section that I just couldn't understand why it went that way. But it did just that you do understand why, because where I've read the whole thing, you understand where he's fell in love with. Is it Saya? Her name is Saya. You can understand why the betrayal with his friend and the betrayal with her and the loss of Maria's not around at this point. It's just you can understand why he's down, but it just dragged on a bit too long.
Yeah.
But overall, I think my score is going to be very diluted this week because I've read the whole thing, so I've got the whole story in my head. I'm finding it hard to separate each volume, so I'll just wing it. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. Fun reading the whole.
I should use this. I mean, we are 10 minutes late, but I'm going to use the trigger warning because we do touch on some things. There's a lot of murder, a lot of sex, and unfortunately a lot of broken hearts as well, which could trigger people. So just beware that this is a very adult-orientated book, albeit they are teens in the story. It's not something I would recommend for children in any way, shape, or form. No,
You don't think
any book with the word "dead" in it should be read by children. So
I don't see your problem, Phil. You don't think children should read a book with a scene where a 15-year-old boy goes to the clap clinic? Like, you don't see that as a problem? You don't think children should read this book?
And learn something? What not to do in life?
Exactly. They could take a lesson, you're right. What not to do. Not sleep around with trolls. To be fair, I mean, I need to touch on the age thing. I think you're right. There obviously are scenes where you don't see the sex apart from one bit where you see them landing after it. But I don't think they're 15. I don't know like what age they are, but I don't.
Well,
It's 15 in the book.
They start at 15, and then obviously it's his months in advance. So maybe they're 16. Is it okay? I don't know.
They say they were graduating from freshman year that year. So I googled that, and they said freshman year is like year 9 in school or whatever, and that's 15, 16.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I get it, but then they are just drawings. So
yeah.
But yeah, I'm very much the same. You guys are the bits in between. I wouldn't say they were boring, but they were very different from the start of this book. The first 2 issues are all action.
At the beginning of that, it was fine. Like I understood, and you know what I'm like about a relationship thing. I like that, but it just dragged. At the start, I was like, "Oh, okay, how is this going to unfold?" And it just didn't. You know what I mean? It just kept rolling, and I was like, "Come on, like end this for me."
I do feel like it was again trying to give it some sort of credit because of where this book ended, how it got there, and the fact that now Marcus is on his own.
Yeah,
everyone's turned on him. Like he's on his own, and what I said, they're not out to catch the rats, and we're all assuming Marcus is the rat because the first book he was handed a box with a rat carcass, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
So we're assuming everyone's going to try and kill Marcus in the assembly, but you need to see from having this like mission where all his friends were there and we were worried about him to get to this point where he has nobody. That's maybe why we have that in between, where it's all like self-destruction. He couldn't do anything right, could he? Even the fact that he tried to kill Victor, he just couldn't do it. He was clumsy, he was foolish, he was making stupid mistakes because he was torn between his love relationships, and he was kind of leaned towards the drug usage too much, obviously, and it's just frazzled his mind. That's why I took it, but I do agree that it does kind of linger on slightly, maybe more than it does.
That end scene was quite like gripping, I guess. It was, it's like it's just chaos. It's just absolute chaos. Like you think, he's in the shower and you think he's going to do it, and then he slips, and then he gets whacked with a soap on a rope, and then Victor bombs it naked down the hallway of the school, and then it's just chaos because he ends up shooting the teacher accidentally in the face, and like just legging it down, shooting everywhere, and it just all this commotion, and then everyone's in the assembly having this big meeting, and it got to that bit, and I was like, what is this door soundproofed? Like, did no one hear those gunshots happening? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, silence it. There we go. Ignore what I said. But yeah, it was just it was cool. Then it just went chaos, 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 mad, fast, and then poof, stopped. You're in school, and I remember feeling like that in school. As a kid, you're messing around, and then all of a sudden, like you run around a corner. As a teacher, there, you just stop, and you're like, nothing to see here. Everything's cool, and I'm a good boy, and there's no need to shout at me and stuff like that. And that's exactly what happened. And
I mean, I'm sure teachers didn't try this, like summon everyone to try and kill you in school. So not quite exactly.
Well, Wales, man, is.
Yeah, hardcore.
Yeah.
The Funky Gibbons is saying he can't quite remember what he scored volumes 1 and 2, but I don't remember being overly impressed with them. but I quite enjoyed this one. So he's saying
So he doesn't remember being overly impressed. So he was.
Yeah, so he could have been. He just doesn't remember being overly impressed.
He doesn't remember being overly impressed. So he was.
Yeah, that's what I take from that. But I like this one better.
Yeah.
It's good. The art I always find with this book, like, it's not pretty art.
Nah.
But I am of the opinion that it really works. Especially the colors, and there are some quite drastic changes in the art, isn't there? Like through different panels, especially when it's on the drugs, like
Oh yeah,
panels are changing and so forth. It happened as well in the previous issues. Like, so let's go back around again. Shane, what your kind of, are you a fan? Are you not a fan? Do you think it suits? Do you think it could do better? What's your thoughts on the art?
I think the art's perfect for this book. For this story, I think the artwork's great. You know me, I'm a sucker for faces and stuff, but I forgive all that with this because the action scenes are just done so well. The movement in the panels. I don't like stationary movement. When I say it all the time, like Saga, when someone's throwing a punch in Saga, it looks like just a snapshot, like just a picture of someone just punching. In this, you can feel the movement. You can feel that they're swinging swords and Maria's swinging her fan, and it's almost like you're watching a cartoon. And I really appreciate that. So that allows me to forgive, the uglier faces and the uglier body proportions and stuff like that. But I think it fits really well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's even to the point where like the scars on Marcus don't look like scars. They look like drops of dirt or water or something, but we know what they are. It's not trying to be exact. It's just trying to portray something as there type of thing. But yeah, I'm a fan at this kind of book. We've seen this art, like not this type of art, but art that works with like superhero books. What was that book we read? We didn't like the art at all, and it was a superhero book. The Avengers went to Columbia. What was that book?
Oh, was that
something Unleashed?
Onslaught.
Onslaught Unleashed, yeah. And the art was not nice for that. But then we read a book with the same artist. It might have been Andrade from what's that Ram V book, Scott? Many Days to Leave a Star.
Many Days to Leave a Star.
That's the artist. That suits that, but wouldn't suit a Marvel superhero book.
No.
This art wouldn't suit Captain America or Spider-Man.
I think when it comes to Marvel and DC books, you expect a certain, not level of art, but you expect a certain style of art. Mm-hmm. So any sort of indication that it's just is going off that, or any like an artist you've never heard of, or one that does styles like this, you're going to go, that's not my Captain America, that's not my Iron Man, that's not my Superman, whatever. And then, but because it's an indie book, you've got nothing to associate that with. So you don't mind the art, even if it's the same art, because you're not used to seeing these characters in that style.
Exactly. It's like, I think because if you're reading Captain America and you read Spider-Man, and one of the art styles looks like this, but Captain America is drawn by, Ian Churchill or, Michael Turner, you kind of think to yourself, they're meant to be in the same universe, but one's drawn like a cartoon and one's drawn a little bit more realistic. So your brain can't really put them in the same universe. And because this is its own universe, they can draw it however they want, and you're completely okay with it.
Plus, you've got this level of expectancy with Marvel and DC because, you've got movies, TV shows, cartoons. We've all got this image of what those characters look like in our head. So you expect to go to the comics and see that as well. And when it's too far off what it does, put you a step back. With something like this, with original characters, original story, I think you can be a bit more relaxed and take it for what it's worth.
This is the best they've ever looked.
Yeah.
Because this is the only time, the best and worst they've ever looked, because we don't know what to expect. We have no bar,
Well, you say that there's one variant cover in the back of this book that is absolutely stunning.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
You have to point that out to me. Scott, so you're a fan then of this for this story, Same Machine?
Yeah, the art was cool. It was going all the way throughout, but I only really liked it when there is action.
Mm-hmm.
When it's just stationary kind of things, or they're just sitting around having a chat, whatever, is fine. But the artist really sells himself
in the action scenes.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially issues 12 and 13. Like I said, they were my favorite issues. I loved them. They were brilliant to look at, really fast paced, stunning colors, awesome. But then the rest was fine. It was good. But the artist really did a good job, really sold himself. That you can tell that's what he's good at, is speed and action and movement and stuff like that. Yeah.
Martin Scott mentioned the colors there. Like again, throughout this book, they used a variation of colors for different kind of moods.
Yeah.
It seemed. Were you a fan of that?
I don't mind. I prefer the darker tones with most of the scenes, especially with, like Scott said, 12 and 13. That bridge fight, everything was dark. It was all sort of moody, especially with Maria with the fire tones, and sort of it looks so good. For me, I just didn't like it as much when things got a little lighter. You know, because you're going back further in the book, it's like when he's walking around in daytime at the comic book shop and stuff like that, it just sort of, those lighter colors highlight those things that irritate you a bit more, like the rougher style. But in the darker tones, I just felt as if it thrived, because that's when the action happened, you know.
Yeah.
So it's I am the same opinion, but darker tones for me.
Nice. Well, this is a good time as any to showcase and discuss some of our page picks. For the guys who do watch us live, just let you know that going forward, if you do want your favorite page kind of showcased and ridiculed, spoke about, just send it to us and we will put it up here and we will see if we like it. We will go, well, for me, Scott and Martin all picked from the same kind of scene. So I'll start with Shane. This is actually towards the end, I believe. Shane?
It's a really weird reason why I picked this, because I did have another page in mind, but then I got to this page in the book, and it's, for me, it's his body language. Like, he's completely given up. Like, he's just, you know, his body is just done. It's just loose. His shoulders are down, and he's got to kill Victor because it's the only way to protect himself and his friends. He doesn't want to. That was the last resort. And as he's getting ready, you can see he doesn't want to do it. And then, but it's just this page when he puts that mask on and he's standing there, he just looks done, just defeated. And I don't know, it just stuck out for me. I know it's simple, but it's just the reason I like that page.
It's a cool page. Cool. It kind of reminded me of like Kill or Be Killed.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. That kind of vibe. It's pretty cool.
But I was trying to work out, you know, what's the symbolism here? You know, with the like high tower or high rise buildings or something. Is that what's meant to be? Like, what's? I was trying. Maybe I'm reading too much and trying to read too much into something. Does it mean something else, or am I just overthinking it?
The only link I can see to that bottom panel is like, you know, the end of each issue.
I was just thinking that
the chapter break page. It just looks like that kind of style, and I don't know why it's like that either. But just I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, is that the last page in that issue?
No. Stand by. Let's all sit in silence until we find out.
No, it's a middle page.
Okay.
Oh well. Well, it means something. Maybe. It's obviously an artistic take. We will go to. I think I'm trying to think of sequence. Like maybe mine's first.
I put them in order.
You've all chosen Maria pages, haven't you?
Yeah. So they go in
first.
Yeah.
Right. So I picked this because it's so cinematic. So this is the point where Maria and Marcus are being chased down by Chico's older brother, who's like held in like a fan waiting to come out when he's called upon. Can't think of his name. Like, he just kept going around Vincenza, didn't it? So I'm assuming it means vengeance. So he's been hunted down by these two on a motorbike, and they're on a bus, and they decide to concoct a plan because they're not going to stop. We need to take these guys down. And again, if this was a movie, like there has been TV show of this, the TV show of this book. If this was a movie, this would be really like cinematic.
Oh, yeah.
Her standing on the bridge, fires going, car crash, them chasing them on the motorbike, and she's just standing there with a little, I don't know if they're called those little fan things, but there's a name for them. I'm not sure.
Blades.
Yeah. And she's just sitting there looking cool and badass. And I think when Shane commented there to say that we've all picked Maria pages, and Martin alluded to it earlier on, so I'm assuming it's the same thing. Maria was fucking badass in this book. She was fantastic, and unfortunately meets her demise. Well, we think so anyway, later on in this story, but this was a great scene, great use of color. You had the dark, as Martin talked about, but then you have the light as well when they're peering closer, the headlight of the bike. I just thought it was so cool.
It is awesome. This is the kind of thing, like, it is very cinematic, and for me, seeing this, all I could hear was like fast-paced, like bass guitar. You know, like just that going in the background, like
Maybe not that one, but
yeah, but you know what I mean. Just something cool like that going on. And as a fun side fact, my Google foo is on point today. The fan blades, maybe it's similar to this. A Japanese war fan is called a tessen. So maybe these are tessens. I don't know.
Tessens? Yeah.
We're Kitana's weapon of choice.
Shane with the knowledge bomb.
Yeah.
Doesn't even use
Katana.
So that leads us on then to Scott's page, which is probably the next one.
It is the next page. It is the next page. So, so Phil's page, we can see everything kind of head on, but then the first panel of this, we kind of see like a 2D kind of view. So that, as if for everyone listening on the podcast, as if you're playing one of those like 2D fighting games. They're on either side. And then, it splits up, again, you get a bit like front on. And then I love the bottom panels when they're breaking up into tiny bits and their faces are just getting more and more angry and screaming the closer they get. And whenever these like yellow and purple colors are, coming out of their mouths, going around their faces or whatever, I just love that. I just imagine that as that's just the emotion. That's just, whatever they're feeling
it's each other's faces.
Oh, is it? It is.
Yes.
Oh my God, yes.
You're so smart, Shane.
I just have eyes, Scott. I just look at what I'm reading.
Right. I did not notice that.
I didn't notice it either.
But I am old, so my eyes aren't as strong as they once were. But
one out of four people can discern what's going on in this bottom panel. This makes me love this page even more.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Thanks.
I had this screenshot myself because, again, same reason as yourself. It's split into two and they're coming head on. But then that top panel where they're both in black, like what's the word? Silhouette.
Silhouette.
And I just think this page is great. Almost picked it myself. Well done.
Love the energy.
Maria's like dancing, isn't she? Like she's like dance fighting,
holding her gown and whatever. It's just like she's so cool.
She's so cool.
So cool.
R.I.P. So cool.
R.I.P. VIP.
Yeah. So Martin, yours comes after Scott in the sequence. Is it? Look how cool this is.
I just fell in love with this character after this sequence. It's just, she is stunning to the point where I actually want a variant cover of her on it because she is that cool from this series. Like, I'm just so gutted that this, like, a little bit further on, we find that she's not around anymore. Not sure why yet, because we haven't read beyond this volume, but I'm hoping that she's not dead.
Maybe she's dead.
She's just so cool.
Then she's dead.
Again, with the art, like, it's those dark tones, isn't it? The dark tones, the fire, the way she strikes the ground to make the flame to kill him. It's just badass. She is a badass.
See, for me, like with this volume, it's a wee bit unfair to say this volume was the best one for her, because her whole character from the start to that was probably the best one so far in terms of you assume she was just this kind of she was Chico's girlfriend who was just a wee bit kind of spoiled and wanted all the boys she could have, even she couldn't have them, blah blah blah. And then obviously she kills Chico, what you think at the time it's for Marcus, but she says in this book later down the line, I was always going to kill him. Like, she had her own backstory. Chico and his dad and the cartel killed her mum and dad and took her in to like use her as a way to get close to their enemies and so forth. Like, she was always going to kill them, and the fact that she did and the way she done it was fantastic. And I agree, she's my favorite character of this. So I do hold a little bit of hope that maybe she's not dead, but she probably is. Because, if you watch TV shows these days, all the shows do it. If there's a character that isn't their main character, they build them up for a little bit. They show give them a good episode where they're like the main person. They build them up and then they kill them. And that's it. That's what they do in TV shows these days. And that's what's happened here, unfortunately.
They did her dirty though. Like, she didn't even go out fighting. That's not fair. Like, they could have let her, like, maybe even succumb to her wounds, but don't let her just get poison teed. Like, that's not fair.
See, that was a big turn for me because, again, I don't know if you've seen in advance. I know sometimes she needs to try and work it out, but for me, Master Lin had this, he was perceived that he's going to be like their kind of master. Like, he'll guide them or whatever they need to do. But all of a sudden, he's kind of turned on them, and he's obviously more sinister than all of them. You can't trust him at all. And I thought he was the complete opposite, but obviously not.
I did. I thought he was like the Dumbledore of Deadly Class.
Yes, same. That's. I think we referred to him as Dumbledore in one of the previous episodes. I thought the exact same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I've quickly gone ahead and got some variant covers from the back of this added onto here. If you guys would like to see, Martin, there is one maybe that you'd be interested in. It's the only one with Maria's mask on there. So here it is. That's by Wes Craig. That is issue 13. Yes. So that is the one. That is the issue where she's teed off. But that's very nice. And Shane, is this the one that you were talking about earlier on?
Yes.
Where the style of this? So Marcus and Saya, they stood together. Who's done this?
Jerome Opena.
Yeah, Jerome Opena, and it's such a great style. So if anyone knows Jerome Opena and you listen to the podcast, hopefully you can get a good idea of what this looks like. It's very moody. It's over like the San Francisco Bridge or whatever it is. Sunset in the background, very like dark colors. Looks really cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love that. Although I do find it odd when they're like on the bridge.
Like,
they're not standing on it.
Yeah, I know that's something they're not standing on the bridge. Yeah, but Jerome Opena is the guy who done the art for Seven to Eternity. So if you're familiar with his work,
that's in my read list.
Yeah, that's what they expect.
For everyone in the chat or listening to the podcast or watching the rewind, if you want us to show off some variant covers, we're more than happy to. We're happy to dig them out and show them off. Just let us know.
This is to coincide with Martin, who has now turned into the variant cover single issue collector that he once vowed to never be. So
what a nerd.
Yeah.
I said no, and that's gone completely wrong. I'm 2 weeks in, filled a short box already. So
what?
Yeah,
I could just see this becoming a thing. Like every story we read, like Deadly Class, you'd be like, I need a variant cover of this person, like Maria this week. So who will be next week? There's going to be a variant cover for you for every series, I think, going forward, and you will buy them.
The covers, next week's pick, they're good.
Well, this because we spoke about it and we read volumes 1 and 2 of Saga, and I didn't enjoy that book at all. But I went out and bought a cover, didn't I? That I really liked.
They had the will on it. Yeah. Topless will. Yeah. But I mean, I mentioned there they kind of twist, I suppose. What did we think of that? Are we
loved it?
Are we? Yeah.
We absolutely loved it. I thought that was fantastic, and they gave you the nuggets along the way to figure it out. As Marcus is like, why are there only 20 kids in the next year up, and there's only 10 in the year up after that? And it's like, and then you think to yourself, it's because obviously they're training them to kill each other. And he's like, who pays your tuition? Who pays your tuition? And then you realize, oh my God, it's Deadly Class. It's not class as in school class. It's class as in the rich and the poor, and they're going to fight against each other. And you're like, oh my God. So that's why 3 volumes in, and they've only been to 2 classes. So it was never about schoolwork. It was about...
I just want to know why more. I want to know more why they're doing this. That's the intriguing thing for the next volume for me. I want to know a little bit more about why they do this school.
So, What this is what me just thinking out loud. This is what Shane mentioned there about the Deadly Class. If you recall one earlier, it must have been book 1, where Marcus's roommate went through all the kind of gangs. Like here's like the cartel, here's the Japanese, here's the hillbillies or whatever it's called, the white trash type of ones here. So I think are they trying to say like, who's like the best gang or what, or who's going to come up on top at the end. And I don't think you're going to have a mix like this group of, say, Billy and Willie and Marcus. I don't think they're going to come out at the end together. I think I foresee pretty much all of them, if not apart from one, maybe dying, and you'll find like one group remains at the end. Maybe that's what it means. I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. But
do we know how many years are in this school? Is it three? Yeah. I'm just thinking, is it just going to keep going until you just get to like 2 people left, and then there's going to be like a head-to-head, and like, you are the best one, off you go, do some assassinating.
But see, this is why I think this book does really well, because with books 1 and 2, you don't really think about, I don't really care who's paying the tuition, who pays for this.
Yeah.
You just go along with it. It's just a story about a school of deadly assassins.
That's the last thing I want to think about when I'm reading anything about a school. Like, oh, I wonder who's paying this character's tuition. It's something you just assume it's being paid by them.
In the background. Yeah. There's a finance office somewhere sorting all that out for us. We don't even know. But the fact is,
like, there's like a side issue called, Deadly Class Student Finance.
Yeah. And have debt for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the way they've done that in terms of like they are dropping little nuggets. Like, why are there so many kids not, and why are there more kids disappearing, so to speak? Why are they dying? And we're still here, but I'm not paying tuition. You're not paying for it. And even with Master Lin, like, even though I was surprised with his betrayal, the fact that he used, I forget his name. Is it Shabnam?
Shabnam? Yeah.
Shabnam. He was given Master Lin his diary or his journal, and he was feeding him information and stuff. Like, so you knew he was up to something, but I always assumed it was for something better, But obviously now we know it's not, because they are killing students. But is this all a test? They find like the strongest, like separate the weak, and
that's what
they only
want
like. They only want the best assassin. So he's doing what's right for him and his purpose, I suppose, really. But yeah,
it's probably also to prove that there are different. Like, even though you're all taught exactly the same, he expects the rich kids to kill the poor kids. He expects them to be better just because of their station. Because he says, "Who you don't want them to be," and who would allow that? You'll go after the rats because you don't want them to win. You don't want them to be around you. So even though they've all had the same training, he just assumes that there's something in the rich people that just makes them inertly better, But he's going to get a shock, because I'm pretty sure. Well, I mean, saying that, he says, "I've taught you everything you need in the dark arts." And I'm like, in the deadly arts. I'm like, did you? Right. I'm like, I'm 3 volumes in, and they've done 1 class on poison and 1 class on self-defense. I haven't seen anything else. And
maybe
Marcus gets his butt kicked every volume. Like,
this is what I was going to say. Marcus is not very good at being an assassin. He is not strong. He is not even clever with his approach. I think like towards the end of this volume, after he's having this kind of breakthrough where he's thinking, like, I need to focus on certain things. I need to amend certain things, one thing at a time. And the next big one he needs to sort out was Victor. And he mentioned about having a plan. And he had a plan and still didn't go well. So I just feel like Marcus should probably be the first one to die in this rat chase, but he won't be. And we know he won't be.
No, but by this volume, I wish Marcus was a lot more capable.
Yeah.
I'd like him at this stage to be able to stand up to at least one of the other kids in the school and be able to hold his own.
But he just doesn't seem to be able to.
Yeah, that's the thing, because he's went clean. He's under the influence, and too much to the point where, like, you've been in positions where you're under the influence and you don't know how you get out of them, but somehow you did. But that's because you had friends. Now they've all left you behind, type of thing. I do think Saya and him will be pals, or will be together again. I'm pretty certain. Again, that's my prediction for the future. Like, they will be a crowd of friends that will.
I don't want them to be friends. I want them to be the last 2 standing, and I want him to finally get the upper hand on her. But we've not seen him be capable. We've not seen him in class. We don't know what his skill level is. They haven't shown us them in class.
We do it. It is low. We do know it. He is low in skill compared to some of the others, like Maria would have kicked his ass, Chico would have kicked his ass.
But the thing is, when I read for the first book, I had the impression from the get-go that he was a bit of a handful. I was expecting him to be like a little dark horse here that might be a street-level fighter, that might be able to hold his own against some of these people and pick up a few little things along the way and make him unique, so to speak, a unique fighter, a unique assassin. But that's not what we got. We've pretty much got the local bum that can punch his way out of a bin bag, and he gets his ass handed to him every volume.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not even just that, like as Shane mentioned earlier on, he's getting his ass handed to him by rich kids, people who have backgrounds of their dads being assassins, being gangs, who have that history of being able to do this. I don't even see the point where he overcomes that. Never mind getting to their level. He has to overcome that at some stage. I don't think he is capable, as Shane's saying. I don't think he is, but something's got to happen to the point where he is. And one of the things that does intrigue me to read on pretty much straight away is the fact that if I was a betting man in this, whatever's going to happen in this next issue, he's the first to go. Everyone's looking at him. Everyone wants him dead. He has this reputation of being a killer. People want to take him down even just for that. Like, how is he going to survive this? He's one pistol, against, I know, hundreds or 30 students who have weapons. If he's not a goner, something's going to happen. So I'm intrigued.
It does seem like he was brought in to be sort of like bringing lambs to the slaughter sort of thing.
Yeah.
Disposable.
Yeah.
He's a hobo. If he gets killed off, no one's really going to care too much.
Cannon fodder type of thing. He's there, just for the bigger ones, the hone their skills and practice their killings.
As a reader, though, we need it to be a little bit more believable when he survives all the time. So far he's survived because Maria's been protecting him. Like, Maria has pretty much fought all his battles for him. Like, she's looked after him to make sure he's survived. She's gone now, so he's on his own, and it's not going to be believable if he survives one more issue without someone protecting him. And he's the star of the book. You want him to be able to protect himself by volume 3. You want him to be somewhat capable. I don't want him to be, god level Goku. Do you know what I mean? I just want him to be able to go toe to toe with someone. Even if he loses a fight, I still want him to do some damage to the person he's fighting. But he can't even seem to land a hit against these people.
Well, you say you want him to be complete by issue 3. I think there's 11.
No, volume 3, not
volume 3. There's 11 volumes in total, so there's still plenty of room for that. But you like to think, okay, if not by volume 3, at least by volume 5, get to there. Give us like the second half of the story where he is the assassin, he is the main guy. So I think we will get there, just slower than maybe you would hope.
Is this series done now?
Yeah, it's complete.
Yeah, so this is done. How many issues are in this run?
54, I think, in total. There's 4 hardcovers.
So that's all 3 years at the school. So he's obviously going to survive this and then get through to the second year and then have to get whittled down to the final 10. And then the final 10 graduation will probably be down to the final 1. So, I mean, he's got to improve quick.
Like I said, I know people who have read the full series, and I know people who have the tattoos of the school on their arm. They love it that much. They mark it on themselves for life. Like, there's a lot of people actually have that. Just in my own city, like I've seen a few of them.
Wow.
So this is obviously highly thought of as a whole series. So I obviously haven't read on past volume 3. I'm looking forward to reading the rest. I want to, because I have enjoyed this. And I do think it will get better, because again, I've always said before, if someone has that kind of amount of like passion for a book, I want it. I'm not going to get this tattooed on my arm, but I like to be to the point where, like, maybe I could if I really wanted to. I'm trying to get to that level of excitement that I have for it. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll get there with Marcus. I think he will be the hero, stroke villain that we want him to be, type of thing. So, and I think he will get Ronald Reagan at some stage.
That'll be how the book ends, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll end with him having Ronald Reagan in a sight or something, and that'll be the last page.
Yeah. So I know Shane, you've watched the TV show adaptation, haven't you? Any of you guys, have you watched it? No.
I watched the trailer before I came on because I didn't want to be deluded by what I've read. You know,
What did you think of the trailer? What were the vibes you're getting from it?
I would give it a go off the trailer, but I don't think it's going to touch half as many, positive tones that the book has. But I just want to see Maria in action again. I fell in love with that character. I really have, and I'm just gutted that she's not going to be in it. So as I currently know, she's gone. Yeah. But no, I'd love to see a live action version of her fighting.
Well,
cutting Chico's head off.
The reason why I bring it up is we've talked about this before in previous episodes where we've read the comic book adaptation after the TV show, whatever, and sometimes they don't add up. I think Shane agrees with me. I think that the TV adaptation is actually a faithful adaptation. It's really good.
Ooh, really good.
I'm not saying one's better than the other. They're both just different. One's a TV show, one's a book. You take it as it is. But the TV show is really good. The only disappointment in the show is that it's been cancelled. So there's one season, but that one season was spectacular. The problem with the show, the reason why it was cancelled, wasn't because it was poorly rated. It wasn't even launched on like a major channel.
Right, low ratings.
So it never hit the ratings it needed to because it wasn't on Netflix, or even like, it was on Amazon Prime in the UK, but you had to watch it through Stars on Amazon Prime. So you had to pay your Prime membership plus Stars membership to watch it. And no one pays additional memberships on Amazon Prime. It doesn't happen. No. So it had low viewership, but it was really, really good. I would recommend you watch it, even though I know you will be disappointed that it doesn't continue. But it was really good. And Maria in the show, you don't quite get this scene, but she's still
it ends before volume 3, unfortunately. Yeah. But you do
get.
Get
I was going to ask, at what point does it get up to in the books?
In the house, they're not instead of right. In the house where they kill the
Chico.
Chico had Chico's head. So they killed the hillbillies, and they come out with his head, and the dad walks up and sees him holding his head. That's how it ends.
Oh man!
So we don't get.
That's a cliffhanger, mind, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I was gutting, but it was a really good adaptation. Up to
the
that
casting
point.
Was great as well for every character.
Superb.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Yeah, I feel like I still want to watch it.
You should. Yeah. I think you should.
I still want to watch it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
You can just watch it and then read volume 3 afterwards, and it just continues the story.
That's why I was excited today, because the volume 3 I hadn't read it, so it did kick off from the TV show. I was like, now I get to see what happened past that cliffhanger.
How many episodes is that?
10 maybe. 10? I'm not sure.
Wow.
Never mind that.
It's essentially an issue per episode.
Yeah.
Wow. It was rumored
that
it was rumored that somebody else was going to pick it up. But it never did. But I think that was the time of COVID as well, where a lot of productions were halted and so forth. So it never stood a chance. Again, not because of its poor quality, it's just because of all their circumstances away from it. And it is such a shame.
Another COVID casualty, sadly.
Yeah. But definitely give it a watch. And any viewers or listeners, if you haven't watched it, give it a try yourself. I don't think you'll be disappointed. As Shane said, a really good cast. Portraying all the characters really well. Even Master Lin, who was Wong from Doctor Strange.
Oh, was it?
Oh, yeah. Hang on, wasn't it directed by the Russos?
I don't think so, but I know you're going. But yeah, no, it wasn't the Russos. I don't think.
I thought I'm gonna have to check it now. Swear.
If it was the Russos, it would be go somewhere else. Definitely, but is there any other points, Shane? You have a lot of notes. Anything else you kind of want to touch on?
I do.
Okay.
We see Marcus bumping into a few different characters and types of people in this. How did you? What did you think of them? And like, how do you think Marcus gelled with all of those? You had like that goth girl where he goes to the parties and stuff like that. He hangs out with some of Willie's friends when they're playing video games.
Yeah, and then I think the Boss Kids at some point.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, my impression of Marcus is that he's a loner. Even when he was in the boys' home, he's always been a loner, and he just would go to anyone who accepts him almost, and he's almost like vulnerable that way. I think that's why those kind of board issues we kind of talked about we almost needed them to get that about Marcus. But he will just go from person to person because he needs to feel kind of wanted and liked or whatever else. And even though he writes about how he shouldn't act this way to be liked, But yeah, I think he's just a loner, and he, would happily deal with anyone who would take him.
It's kind of like that self-awareness. Like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I need to do it. Like to satisfy, I don't know,
survive as well. Yeah.
Dopamine or whatever it is, whatever serotonin, whatever he needs. But yeah, it was interesting seeing him gel with all these different types of characters, different personalities.
He's also a dick because even though like his mate is wants the same girl and all this kind of stuff, like he basically told his gang the whole big secret that he didn't gun down those gangsters in his house. And I just thought, like, what a dick move, as well as like shagging his roommate's true love and all this other stuff. And
ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Go on. No, you go.
I was just going to say, just reminded me of a scene, which, I mean, there's not loads of funny moments in this, but this is the thing. I think when Marcus is alone with his mind, he goes places that are just outrageous.
Yeah.
So he goes to the clinic, and he sees a good-looking girl at the front of the queue.
Yeah.
Thinking she has the clap or whatever. And we'll have the clap together, and we'll have kids, and they'll have the herpes. That's the herpes. They'll have herpes together, and all live happily ever after. And then he hears she's HIV positive and wants the treatment for HIV, and his face drops.
I know.
And it's just that whole scene was completely unnecessary. But again, it shows how much of a dick he is. He's thinking about this.
As a 15-year-old boy, you know, I think they mentioned it at some point in the book, like you are instantly going for a happily ever after with a woman. And when you're that age, all you want is just find someone. Your hormones are going mental, and I just want the love of my life. I want my partner forever, for to live with and do whatever I want with forever. So when he, in like 5 seconds, he creates this life and he assumes all this stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'm in. We're gonna have this life. We're gonna have a boy and a girl, and we're gonna be happy. We're gonna have picnics and whatever, and we're gonna be,
and she'll never leave me because no one else will have her.
This is so weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like she's not in my league, but she has HIV, so now she's in my league now, type of thing. That's what he's like. It's like, that's a bit wrong.
It was
but
weird.
Sure, I get it.
And when he was surprised by that girl, and she was like, "I'm pregnant," and he says, get lost. You're lying. What do you think? Do you think she's lying? Are we going to see this in like volume 4 or 5, where you just see her in the background somewhere in the cafeteria of the school with a bit of a bump? Like,
how could you tell?
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's the thing. See the bit where that reveal happened, where the party, you did actually see them getting together, but he woke up the next morning and she's in the bed. You couldn't have found a more unflattering pose for that character, could you? No. She was just rotten. But I don't know. It's hard to tell if she's lying. But at the same time, he did say he would pay for her abortion. So I don't think Marcus is going to have a child. And in the future issues, I think if she is telling the truth, it probably will not come to that, or else Shabnam will adopt it himself.
He'll be happy.
Raise baby Marcus himself.
Yeah. But to be fair, you mentioned the different types of characters. Even though they were here, like they weren't showcased as much as maybe the first issue, really, were they? They kind of stuck to their core people, really.
Yeah.
Yes. Any other points, Shane? Did you have anything else to raise?
Just one thing. The final issue, I don't know why. Has everyone's seen Community? You all know the TV show Community?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When Master Lin was on stage talking about like what's coming next, and it's going to be basically a battle royale, for some reason in my head, volume 4 of this book is going to be like Extreme Paintball from Community. The school's going to be wrecked.
The paintball episode's so good.
It's going to be like 1 week later, and the school's going to look like Mad Max, and there's going to be cliques of people all over the school trying to survive. I don't know why that jumped to mind, but that's just what I have envisioned for volume 4.
Just kids with like wrecked school shirts and ties, like Rambo style across their head. It's going to be
torn sleeves, and
it'd be insane. Yeah.
Well, that brings us on to the fact that like this is sequels month. I'm not saying you have to pick a sequels for the Herd's choice, but if you did want to read volume 4, it would fit in nicely with this wave, wouldn't it? You
Yeah.
don't have to.
I mean, we've done it before with Klaus and stuff. We did that all in the same month.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
But we also have 2 more
that was your
sequels
fault.
coming up that you could choose from. Scott and my sequels are coming up, so you
Ooh,
might
it's a
want to pick
competition.
ours. Yeah.
That's not fair because like I suffer with like timing. Like I'm the first one. Like the last, everyone always remembers the most recent one.
Doesn't matter if your book was a good book, people will remember it.
The early bird catches the worm, but
This-
the
this-
second mouse
yeah.
gets the cheese.
This is true. But like I say, you can pick whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a sequel, but it would be nice to fit in. And it could be a sequel for any book we've ever read on the Nerd Herd. Just be number 2. It's like the next one in the series. So
Yeah, what if someone picks a sequel to a book we haven't read and we just have to read volume 2 of something?
oh, that would be. I would be okay with that because
That'd be a
it
weird
would
one.
score purely, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be interesting. But I think it's about time. We're at the 56th-minute mark. Let's go on to our final thoughts and scores. Let's get our verdicts in. I will go around the other way. Martin, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I said from the start, my score's going to be a little bit diluted because I've read the whole thing. So I'm judging the whole book, unfortunately, but I'll try and tie it down a little bit. As we've touched on many moments of this, the first start of this volume was great. The way it ended was really nice. It kept me intrigued for another volume. So I would like to read on because this has sold me. I want Maria to come back. And that's another reason why I will carry on reading, praying that she's going to come back. Artwork, I really enjoyed the artwork in this. As I said before, I like the darker tones. I love the brutalness of this series. I love, the killings and stuff like that. I like the action side of things from this. So I'm going to go in with a generous score. I'm going to go in with a 7.5.
Nice.
Lovely.
Just for the folks who are watching live, if you've read along, give us your score and we'll add this in. We've already got one from Connie who couldn't be here tonight. I have it noted down. But if you are in the chat, drop your score. We'll collate it of ours and we'll see where it comes in this all-important leaderboard as well as the sequels leaderboard because we also got to update that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Scott's very excited for that.
Pumped.
Scott, do you want to give us your score?
Yeah. I'll keep it short. Fantastic action in issues 12 and 13. Those were the issues that will really stand out for me for this volume. Fantastic scenes in there. Like I said, anime vibes. Awesome positioning with the characters in the panels as well. I loved it. 14 and 15 dragged on a bit. It could have been condensed, I feel like. But I do understand, this is a 54 issue run, like you said, so maybe they did need to just extend a few things. They didn't need to rush. But, for me, just dragged on a little bit. And then I really liked the kind of conspiracy of this whole thing slowly being revealed over the last couple issues and then finding out at the very end. And that was pretty much the only thing that has kept me wanting to read on. If that didn't happen, I'd probably stop here, to be fair. But I'm glad it did happen. I will be interested to read on, but only for the herd. So based on all of that, I'm going to go for a 7.
Nice. And Shane.
I'm pretty close to Scott, actually. He brought up a perfect point. If those last few pages hadn't happened, I wouldn't want to read on. This volume was like a speed bump. You're driving down the road, it's nice and smooth, then you hit the bump, and then you get back, and then you're driving a little more carefully after that because you don't know what's coming. So I was enjoying it. It started off great. It was fantastic. It was literally like I came back from a break from the previous volume, and I picked up exactly where I left off, and it was awesome. And then it just stops, and it just turns into a completely different book, and I lost interest, and I was not expecting much after that. But that final issue was just enough to get me interested again. So they did save it. They saved it, and I do want to read on. The art fits the book great. Like we said, I do enjoy this book. I enjoyed volumes 1 and 2, but I do have the same issue that I had with the previous volume. I don't want to see children having sex in comic books. I don't want to see it. I don't care if they're having sex with other children. I don't want to see it. Adults, I don't want to see that. They are children, and I don't want to see it in my comic book, and it doesn't need to be there. Just it doesn't need to be in there. You can have the reference to it. You can mention last night he had sex with. That's completely different. I don't want to see naked children in bed after having sex. It's just completely not something I want to see. So for that, I have knocked some points off. I'm going to give this a 6.5.
Ooh, nice. I think I kind of echo everyone's thoughts as well. I mean, I don't have the same issue with like the lull in between the action scenes at the start and the pick up towards the end. I quite liked seeing Marcus self-destruct. I think it's a huge big character thing for him where he's pushing all his friends away. He's essentially failing in all aspects of life. He's going down a downward spiral, and now he finds himself in this position where he now will be tested. So if he's going to become the assassin that maybe we think as a reader he should become, he needs to overcome this. He's on his own. So what's going to happen? And I think he needed those kind of few issues where he does essentially ruin himself and ruin his life for everything that's already been before. I agree as well that the action scenes from the start does feel like the end of the previous arc, but with it being a 54 issue continuous run, like what a way to start the volume 3. That was fantastic. Those scenes were fantastic. Maria was fantastic. It's just so sad to see her go. But as Scott mentioned, the intrigue, like just slowly feeding us stuff that there's problems at the school. It's not what we think it's going to be, and we're not quite there to kind of like solving it out yet. I'm definitely intrigued. I mean, I bought all 3 hardcovers. There's a 4th coming into this month, which I'm going to get. So I am fully invested in this. I am torn. I don't know if this was the best volume, but I don't think the quality lessened any for this than it did for 1 and 2. They're all very different. For me, this is very much action-packed. And the intensity definitely went up a notch. And the art, as was mentioned, fits in. It's great. The action's great, superb. So I'm going with an 8. Because I feel like going for a 7 would suggest I prefer the other 2 volumes better. I don't think I do. I think I love this. I want to read the next one going forward now. So I went for an 8. We have 2 scores. We have the Funky Gibbons. Liam has given this a 7 out of 10. He said, it was good. Wouldn't rush it to read more, though. Maybe you might in 3 weeks' time. Who knows? And Connie, Sunstorms and Thunderclouds on Instagram, couldn't be here tonight live. The show she's painting. And she's given us an 8 out of 10. That was her score. So, with that, the herd average. There were no more scores, Scott, from anyone else?
No.
Okay. The herd average was 7.5. Add that with Scott 7, Shane 6.5, Martin 7.5, and my 8. That gives us an average of 7.3, which doesn't quite, I don't think. Nope, just misses out on the top 10. Fantastic Four, full circle, still clinging on there with 7.9. But that just shows that if these books are going to make the top 10, you have to be top quality across the board, really. We're at squeaky bum time now, the tail end of the season.
Where does it land on the rest of the leaderboard?
Yeah, where does it last? Or land, you're right. So 7.3, it's in there with Friday and Astonishing X-Men on 11th, joined 11th.
Very different books there.
Yeah, well, yes.
Very different books.
Yeah.
All right.
But so, Scott, have you done the math for the sequel?
I have. So, Volume 1, we gave a total of 8 out of 10. Volume 2, we gave it a total of 8.1. And so now we've got 7.3 with this. So that gives us, well, first of all, we should say that at the moment on our top 10 leaderboard for the sequels, Deadly Class is sitting at joint second place with 8.1. So, with all that in mind, second place. First place is joint. Second place, 8.1. So now that we've got the 7.3 to add on as well, that brings us to 7.8.
Go ahead, Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Wow. So that means Deadly Class and Cosmic Ghost Rider are swapping places on the leaderboard for now. But who knows what we'll see for the rest of Sequels Month There's the rest of the sequels leaderboard as well. There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Scott, you mentioned, like, say, for now. Who
For
knows? Because what's
Who
coming up
knows?
next week? Let's just see what we have. Go ahead, young Scott. Take it away. What have we got coming up?
It has been one hell of a long time since we've read Lock and Key. We read it on season 1, and now I think it's time to bring the sequel, volume 2, entitled Head Games from 2009. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. It's like one of my favorite series ever. And I'm really excited. Like, I've read them all, but I'm excited for everyone to get on board, read these, and let's see if, like season 1, Lock and Key can get into the top 10.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
From what I remember, like the TV show, but the book, the volume 1, was so much better, so much darker.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
See, I've read none of it, so I'm quite looking forward to this.
But
This
it's
is one
key. Instead of reading 3 volumes for next week, you've only got the 2. So we're good.
Yeah, so there's a win.
Yeah. This week as well, there's not a new video from Kevin and Kev's Draw-Alongs, but this is a good time as any to revisit some of his back catalogue. Recently, he has done How to Draw Green Lantern. He has done How to Draw Wolverine. And Scott's favourite, How to Draw The Flash. That's just 3 of many. We're forever grateful for the work that Kevin puts in for this channel too. And yeah, if you want to learn how to draw some of your favorite characters, check that out. There's a playlist on our YouTube channel just for that. So, also, a good time as any to let you know at the end of this month, after a few months hiatus.
Yeah.
What's all the omnifuss about then? We'll be making a glorious return Friday the 30th, 8:30 p.m. I'll be there. It's an open invite, but Martin may be there, I think.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll come along.
And we'll just get together, talk about our collecting habits and how they've changed over the recent weeks and months. Like, Martin's totally given up on hardcovers. He's just collecting variant single issues now. So yeah, we look forward to that. But that's Friday the 30th. Is there anything else this month? Nothing due. But there is one more thing to do. And it is get your waves out. See you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.